Hello, everybody, and welcome back to What Israel Is. It's been a while since my last update. I've been on a rather unofficial and unannounced hiatus. Been kind of swamped with dealing with stuff revolving my wedding as well as other engagements. But I'm back, and hopefully I'll be able to update a bit more regularly. And I want to discuss the issue of my identity as an atheist Jew. And I see myself exactly as that, as an atheist Jew. And what does it really mean being an atheist and also a Jew? And I actually discussed this in another episode where I kind of started a process with myself about a question of whether one can be Jewish without being a practicing religious Jew. And my conclusion was yes, you can be Jewish without being a believing, practicing Jew. You can be an atheist and also a Jew. But there is, at least in the long run, there needs to be some sort of not necessarily religious, but some kind of some sort of semi-religious observance in the form of holidays, for example, in the form of sharing of the myth and the stories as something of a foundation myth, teaching the Bible as a mythical history, not as truth. These sort of things, for this sort of Jewish identity to be a thing. In the long run, the Jewish identity cannot survive off of genetics alone, essentially. So that was my conclusion back then, and I stand behind it to this day. And I also, I spoke about why I think it is also worth preserving. I am of the belief that Jewish culture has many things to offer. Things that are a positive force in a sense in this world. Many of the things that are part of being Jewish, which I spoke of. It's self-sufficiency, it's skepticism, it's a tradition of debate and inquiry. All of those things are things that are good in this world, and thus I think it is something that should be preserved. But Judaism is not something that I see as a net good in this world. And this is also why I am an atheist, for many other, the first and foremost reason I am an atheist is because there is no God. Certainly not the type espoused by Judaism. And this is the core premise of Judaism, and the very first thing that is wrong about it. And not only is it is Judaism surmising a God, but it also is a God that is not the ephemeral, all-encompassing entity that he's been rebranded as. This is a God who is a God of vengeance and rage, a God of war and of miracles. It is an active God. And this alone, to me, is demonstrably, I could maybe try and, entertain the idea of this kind of fluff god, like the Brahman of Hinduism, which is all and everything and nothing. He is like can't be portrayed, and he cannot be. You can't begin to fathom him because he is all. No, this is a God that has a personality. This is a very specific God that has a name, and and a kind of a biography. So I don't think this is a God that is very easily disproven, I believe. It is also, and this is one thing that white supremacists and other all sorts of anti-Semites like to harp on, and they're right about it, and this is something that more Jews should acknowledge. Judaism is a xenophobic religion. At its core, Orthodox Judaism, and many of the things I'm going to say here in this episode is with regards to Orthodox Judaism, which I consider the worst of the worst as far as Judaism goes. It's a xenophobic religion that promotes the notion that not only are Jews unique because of their culture, etc., they are actually superior. And not only are they superior, they are inherently born superior. And this has nothing to do with genetics. It has, maybe in their idea, but it has to do with being born with a superior soul. So yes, it is a supremacist religion. And this is something that should be acknowledged. Again, I honestly believe that most, if not all, Reform and conservative Jews have moved away and rejected these core tenets of Judaism, and they do not see themselves in that way as superior to other people. But Orthodox Jews of all sorts of the different brands of orthodoxy, yes, they are supremacists. It is also an extremely misogynistic religion, where women are essentially reduced to roles of being housewives and caretakers for the children, and they are forbidden from learning any field, essentially, and they are forbidden from being in the presence of men who are not their family, and even as far as the religion itself goes, they are forbidden from taking an active part in worship beyond very specific roles. Again, orthodoxy. Reform and conservative Judaism are something different. It is an extremely homophobic and transphobic religion, which in its earlier incarnations doomed gay men and trans women to death. Today, and for the past 2,000 years, about 2,000 years, this is no longer the case, But that is not to say that gay men and trans women are treated well within Judaism, and also lesbians and the rest of the gay alphabet. Um, it is an insufferably pedantic and petty religion in its observances, demanding attention from its followers to the most trivial kind of bullshit, such as the amount of hours passed since the last dairy or meat meal, stuff like that. And the majority of those observances within Judaism are 100% arbitrary, and they don't really have any kind of justification in morality, and even in theological terms, there is no real explanation why the observances need to be carried out, beyond the fact that they are written and so it must be. And one of the most maybe understated reasons why Judaism is bullshit is because it gave rise to Christianity and Islam. And not only that, but most of, or many, at the very least, many of the things wrong with those two religions stem directly from Judaism and Hebrew scripture. Such as the treatment of gays, of the rest of the LGBTQ, whatever, and the treatment of women, modesty. Many of those things stem directly from Judaism. And this, in very short, concise list, is why Judaism is bullshit, and why I do not subscribe to it. This is it for today. Again, hopefully I'll be back with more episodes in the upcoming weeks and return to a more frequent type of update schedule. And until next episode, have an awesome weekend. See you guys.